Now, this will probably be the final one of these I do before the game officially launched, but I can't get enough of FPL.team at the moment, and with some new data and analysis, I've got an updated draft to share. All right, so I mentioned new data and analysis, and what I've got here is an Opta analysis of the best teams for fixture difficulty ratings for the first five games. So you can see there, bottom three being Man United, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Everton. Top three being Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, West Ham. And usually, right, in FPL, most people play their first wild card within the first 10 weeks. Traditionally, that's what I do. I'm usually one that presses the wild card button sort of game week 6 or 7, because at that time, we get a good idea of like the new emerging cheap players that have come into the game that, or you know, you might want to completely change your team at that point because it's rubbish or whatever. But usually sort of game week 6 or 7 is when I play my wild card. So in reality, you know, picking a team that covers you for sort of the first 5 games is a good way to go about it. I'm not going to go through all of the teams here, but again, you know, talking about the top teams, Villa, Palace, West Ham, those are the 3 best teams for fixture difficulty. Brentford, Chelsea close behind as well, you can see there. That should give you an idea of the kind of teams I'll be looking at. I've also got an Elevenify model. Now, I used this all throughout last season to help me with my ultimate guide videos and my team selection and stuff that I was doing last season. There's a link to Elevenify in the description. Fantastic source of clean sheet odds and projected goals. There's plenty more on there for you to check out yourself. So I'll leave a link, like I said, to that in the description. First 6 game weeks we've got here and clean sheet odds. Leading teams being Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Forest, and then Everton, Villa. What you usually see with these clean sheet odds, well, what I'm analysing with these clean sheet odds is a mixture of teams with good fixtures and, of course, in general, just teams that are good defensively. Arsenal, right, historically, they are just one of the leading defences in the Premier League season on season, as are Liverpool. Last season was a bit of a blip for Man City, but they're usually up there. Chelsea got some good players, and obviously Forest were really good defensively last season as well. The only concern I'd have a little bit with Forest is how they will play if they don't have a Langer and Gibbs-White. I know that doesn't necessarily impact their defence, but obviously they're so good on the ball from an attacking perspective. Losing that sort of attacking firepower might also mean they concede some more goals. Hopefully that point makes sense, but they're still amongst the top teams. And then we've got projected goals. Leaders for that for the first 6 game weeks are Man City. Then you've got Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs and Arsenal. Interesting that Man City are top there, particularly looking at game weeks 2, 4 and 6. Those are the leading weeks for Man City for projected goals. Now, spoiler alert, I don't have Erling Haaland in any of my drafts at the moment, but looking at these projected goals data, should I say, is kind of convincing me that it might be worth having both Salah and Haaland in your team so you can chop and change on the captaincy. Particularly in game week 2, there's a big disparity between Liverpool and Man City's projected goals there. I think Liverpool have Newcastle, don't they, in game week 2. So yeah, that's a view of projected goals. Again, I'm not going to go through all of the teams, but you can see top Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, Newcastle. Towards the bottom, you've got the 3 promoted teams, Everton, Wolves, and interestingly, Nottingham Forest. All right, so the team itself then, and it's not changed a whole lot defensively at least since the last one, although I have chopped and changed a few players around. I've gone for Dean Henderson in goal. Now, these are prices from FPL.team, and I thought it was a good excuse to try out some new graphics. These are what it looks like the new graphics on the FPL game will look like. They were leaked by FPL Focal last week, I believe, so I tried to incorporate that into my videos going forward. So we've got Dean Henderson in goal. Now, Dean Henderson, I think, will be priced at $4.5 million, and I think he's just a solid, dependable 4.5 million goalkeeper, basically. I don't really want to pick a goalkeeper too much more than this. I am considering Jordan Pickford at 5 because he always just ends up there or thereabouts as the top scoring goalkeeper in the game because he offers a good balance of clean sheets and saves. But I also think Dean Henderson will, and I know the first fixtures against Chelsea away, I know that, but they rank pretty highly to Crystal Palace for fixture difficulty. We'll just go back. They rank 2nd for fixture difficulty, 2nd best team for fixture difficulty. So I quite like the thought of having Dean Henderson in goal. Obviously, game week 1 is not great against Chelsea away, but you don't pick a goalkeeper for 1 week. You just pick them and stick with them. And I think Dean Henderson, hopefully at least, will tick that box. I've gone for Neco Williams and Pedro Porro alongside Gabriel. I like Spurs' opening fixtures. Pedro Porro is obviously an exceptionally attacking fullback as well. I think there's a potential clean sheet there against Burnley, although Spurs obviously, questionable on their ability to keep clean sheets. But I think under a new manager in Thomas Frank, And I do think the individuals they have in their defence are pretty good. Like Porro, Udogie, Romero and Van de Ven is a pretty strong back four that I think Spurs will play. I think there's a good chance they keep clean sheets. And of course with Porro, good chance he gets some attacking returns. Will he be 5 million when the game actually launches? Remains to be seen. I think he could be 5.5 million. So for me, it's between Porro or Munoz of Crystal Palace who goes there. Gabriel, well, I'm looking at Arsenal's clean sheet odds. They look really good. Gabriel is probably the standout Arsenal defender because he'll play every game and he offers the most attacking upside. Again, similar to Porro, the question is, will he be priced at 6 million or will they make him 6.5? I have a feeling that he might be 6.5 million and then players like Saliba, who offer a little bit less attacking threat, might be priced at 6. If I was FPL, I'd probably do that. So if Gabriel is 6.5, I might be tempted to go for Saliba. Neco Williams, I just think Forest are good defensively, and I also think Brentford are going to be weakened if they lose Mbeumo to Man United, particularly. So I do think there's a good chance that, Neco Williams scores some points against Brentford, although that's slightly contradictory to a player that I've picked in my midfield. And then on my bench, I've gone for Moore. He's just a 4 million goalkeeper, basically. If there is a 4 million goalkeeper that looks like he's going to start, or the 4 million goalkeeper that has the most likelihood of starting, I'll just go for them when the game launches. Colwill, I think he'll probably be 4.5 million, or I'll go for any Chelsea defender I see that I think is going to start regularly for 4.5 million. I've picked Colwill so far. And Rodon, he's probably going to start every game for Leeds, but it's a similar concept to the goalkeeper. I'm just going to pick a 4 million defender that I think has the most likelihood of starting, and it's just, this is the way they're priced up at the moment in FPL Team. So, my midfield then, and I've got a couple of ways that I want to play this. I'm going to talk through a second draft at the end of this video, but this is my first choice, I think, as things stand. Salah, obviously, Eze, Palmer, Bowen, and then I've gone for Damsgaard, slightly inspired by a team, by the way, that I saw from FPL Tom. And I think, particularly if Mbeumo leaves Brentford, Damsgaard had a good season for Brentford last season, and I think is one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, right? And I think particularly if Mbeumo goes, he will be a much more prominent figure sort of in the Brentford attack in terms of goal contributions. And yeah, I think he could be a nice player going into next season. Basically, I need a 5.5 million midfielder in this team to populate it. And Damsgaard's in there at the moment because FPL Team has got him priced at 5.5 million. But if the game launches and there's another better player at 5.5 million, I'm going to go for them. Bowen, I think he's West Ham's just absolute talisman. Got a great fixture against Sunderland. I've picked him in all the other teams. I don't need to say anymore. Same with Salah, Palmer and Eze. Salah and Palmer I don't think need too much introduction. I've gone for Palmer over Saka because I think his fixtures are better. And I've gone for Eze because he just ticks all the boxes I like in an FPL asset. Plays every game, takes penalties, free kicks. He's just the talisman, isn't he? And you've obviously got to go for Salah. Up front, at the moment, I've got Isak and Solanke in there. I wanted to bring Isak into this team because I think he creates a nice talking point for a video. He's still at Newcastle as things stand. Liverpool heavily linked to him in the transfer market. It does look likely in my mind that Liverpool are going to get him. The question is, does Isak become a better or worse FPL option if he signs for Liverpool? Personally, I think he stays probably around the same. It's a bit of a cop-out answer, but I think he stays probably around the same. At Newcastle, he's obviously the absolute talisman. He takes penalties, and I would imagine Newcastle create less chances than Liverpool, but all the chances will be sort of directed more in Isak's direction. But when you've got a front three of Wirtz, Isak and Salah, which I think Liverpool might have next season, that does create a little bit... There's more players, basically, to create chances for and finish. So... yeah, interesting one on Isak. I think regardless of the club that he plays for, though, he's going to be a good FPL option. And usually I say I like to stay clear of new signings, but I think Isak, he's proven in the Premier League. And if Liverpool sign him for, 130, 150 million, something crazy like that, he's going to probably start the first game of the Premier League if he's fit and ready to go. So, yeah, I like the thought of picking Isak from that regard. And Solanke, similar concept really to Eze and Bowen. I just think he's going to play every game. And with Son sort of petering off for Spurs now, I've got a feeling he's going to be their penalty taker as well. And at 7.5 million, I think he's a nice safe option with the fixtures that Spurs have to open up. And then just a slight change to the team. There's just a couple of players different, basically. I've swapped Eze for Rodgers and I've swapped Solanke to Watkins here, purely because Villa have the best opening fixtures. And with that in mind, why would you not target the team that have the best opening fixtures? The team, of course, that are pretty good as well. Watkins doesn't have a whole lot of competition now for the striker spot. I was put off him last season, obviously, because John Duran was there taking his minutes, but I don't think that's going to happen this season. And Rodgers was just sensational, wasn't he, last season? I guess the question is open, how much will Rodgers be? FPL.team have got him in at 6.5 and Watkins in at 8.5. It obviously all depends on what these players are priced at in the actual game, but I don't think these numbers are too far off. So, yeah. An alternative to Eze and Solanke would be to downgrade Eze in terms of price and go for Rodgers, and upgrade Solanke and go for Watkins. I guess you could also, a third draft, but I haven't picked out another 6.5 million midfielder that I really fancy yet. You could swap Eze for Rodgers, keep Solanke in there, and potentially upgrade Damsgaard. You could also change the formation and bring in Evan Nilsson for Damsgaard if you fancy that, or someone like Semenyo or Clivert from the Bournemouth team. But I just didn't fancy Bournemouth's opening fixtures. So, yeah, those two teams are what I'm wrestling with at the moment. And regardless of how I line up, for Game Week 1, Salah's going to be my captain. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, this is the third video I've done of a draft in FPL Team now, so I feel like I'm dragging out the topic a little bit, and I don't think I've got any more content to make on this, so this will be the last video I make before, well, at least about from FPL Team before the official game comes out. There are a few changes here. I've come across a few additional stats like the Elevenify model and obviously the Opta fixture difficulty ratings, which I think is useful for you guys to see, so it was an excuse to show that, and also an excuse to show you my new graphics for the season as well. So yeah. If you enjoyed the video, the new graphics and the stats, please do leave me a like rating. You can subscribe to the Goal to Goal channel. Should be just here on your screen. And yeah, might react to some price reveals. Hopefully they come out soon, and I'll catch you in my next video.